Absolutely brilliant to be here, Dean, with the first episode of
Get Me a Set List.
Get Me a Set List. What a name, So it applies to everything, music and film, and well, let's go.
You've kindly invited me here to the Propstore. As you can see, there are a few space suits behind us, so let's hope nothing moves while we're still here. And then we'll chat about, music, memorabilia, props, things like that.
We met obviously year before last.
It was the year before last, yeah.
Year before last, when obviously we were involved with the Bittersweet exhibition at Salford Lads Club in Manchester. And what came across for me was just how passionate some of the fans were about the memorabilia we'd taken to display. Now at the time, we took a selection of guitars, which included Noel's Silver Sparkle.
Yes.
Now, I won't sound crass when I say this, but I was really surprised the effect that had on some of the people who had come to the exhibition to see it. And not just that, but some of the other things that were in the exhibition. But the guitar was probably the most thing that I thought really, I mean, there were a couple of people who were almost in tears when they saw it. Yeah. And that resonated with me, just how much memorabilia means to some people.
It's quite amazing the emotional response that an object will elicit, isn't it? And equally, I'm with you on that one. I mean, some of the guys and the girls that were at the exhibition were incredibly technically knowledgeable about the stuff. Weren't two or three people that come across and they were very techie on the guitars. They would talk about the pedals and all this kind of thing. And as you say, and the Silver Sparkle was there. It was almost. I don't want to say a religious experience, but for some people,
some of them it was. I think some of them it was. I mean, they were really, and it was great that there were mums and dads there, and they were saying that they were telling their kids, they were going, well, look, this is probably the most famous guitar played by probably one of the greatest guitarists of the current period. Yeah. This is what he played, and this is what he played it on, and it was a real. It wasn't just Oasis, even though it was an Oasis-themed exhibition.
Yes.
But it was great to see parents there with their kids, passing on the fact that Oasis are brilliant. Now, at that time, the reunion wasn't announced. No. We all sort of had a thought that it was going to happen, but it hadn't been announced. And parents telling their kids, it's a shame you never got to see Liam and Noel, Andy Bell, etc. Alan on drums, Tony on drums,
and
Zach on drums. It's a shame you never got to see these, and that was the message at the time. And I think that's where, certainly in terms of passing on an interest in memorabilia, happens.
Yes.
I think certainly with the Beatles, with Oasis, to an extent Rolling Stones, it is mums and dads telling their kids, you've got to listen to these, or it's on in the background.
I was going to say, or equally, it's one of those things that actually it's always on in the house. I think the relationship with music is probably a bit different nowadays than it was potentially when we were younger.
I would agree with you on that.
Because my parents, it would all have the radio on.
Yeah.
The radio would always be on in the background.
Yeah.
And so there was always a constant stream of music. You would hear everything, and you would hear random stuff, and then that would lead you into something else. Yeah. But nowadays, people self-curate, don't they?
Yeah.
And they get something they like.
It's a playlist, or it's a Spotify. I think that's probably why. I mean, I remember getting up in the morning, and my mum or my dad it would be Radio 1, and it would be Noel Edmonds or whoever was doing the breakfast show. Yeah. There was no breakfast. I mean, I've shown my age here, but there was no breakfast TV.
Oh God, no!
It was the radio was on till you went to school.
Yeah.
Then when you come home, it was radio, because there were only 3 channels. There weren't you know, when you got in from school, there wasn't anything to watch, so it'd be the radio. And then if there was something on in the evening, you know, you'd all sit down and watch it. And I just think that for that time, it's where, you know, certainly it was a big deal to see a James Bond film on the TV or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think kids of a certain age, it's a magic moment. And that has transferred obviously into the memorabilia collecting that we're going to be talking about, not just music, but also, you know, films and TV.
Well, I'm gonna lead into that. So obviously, I'm going to bring Star Wars up. I'm sorry, it's early into the thing, and we walked past one of the fantastic one sheets out there earlier on. But one of the things that I find fascinating, there are so many Facebook groups dedicated to a particular thing.
Yeah.
And there's at least one Facebook group that's dedicated to Star Wars in the UK in '77.
Yeah.
And people are on there, like, you know, when it came out, and I remember there was an article on there the other day, and it was the lead was the front of the Radio Times.
Yeah.
From when, or the TV Times, it was on ITV, and it was the front of that because that was the premiere of Star Wars on the TV.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I remember sitting and watching it because I think it had been out to rent for a year or two potentially, but for it to be on the television, you know, for everybody to see it and for everybody to record it off the TV so you could watch it when you wanted, you know. But that was the moment that you saw that, and everybody was talking about it on the lead up and on the back end.
Well, as you know, I'll give you a brief history of Propstore. That is how Stephen Lane, the owner, started with a love of Star Wars.
Really?
And then Tim, who's his best friend, become involved with Propstore. Stephen set it up as a company to deal with memorabilia. Initially Star Wars memorabilia, sci-fi memorabilia. Tim and Stephen, they won't mind me saying this, you know, at the time, which was late 70s, well, probably early 80s, they used to go skip diving. You know, you'd go to a studio because the memorabilia was being thrown away. It wasn't being kept. And that is a chord that resonates right across, I think, a lot of collecting. Certainly with music. I speak to so many people who say, oh, I had David Bowie's outfit from when he was at Hammersmith Odeon, but you know, the kids used to wear it, or you know, we used to wear it to fancy dress, and it would be, didn't think there'd be any value to it. A lot of people from our era, the big thing with them was collecting autographs. Now it's almost like everything an artist or an actor touches, there's a value to it, because there's always going to be a fan of a movie, an actor, a group, or a song. And that's where certainly the memorabilia we deal with comes into its own.
But that's where all of this sort of ties in really well, isn't it? Because part of obviously, you know, what we're looking to do with this is every item, everything has a story.
Yeah.
But there's no way of actually letting those stories out, you know?
It's one of the things, certainly when I'm consigning for music, it can be an item that's a few £100 or tens of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds. For me, if it's got a story to it, I want to tell it.
Yes. We
had different ends of the scale. We had Dave in this auction here, which was last year. We had David Bowie's bear, Bowie.
Really?
Now it came from the family, used to be to do with Bowie's manager, that Bowie used to stay with when he was performing.
Yes.
But Bowie used to stay there, and as the consignor told me, that he formed a really close attachment to this bear, and every time he came to stay with him, he said, "Oh, where's Bobby?" And there's photographs you could see in the catalogue of Bowie with Bobby the bear. That, because the bear had been, since Bowie had it, heavily restored, then I erred on the side of caution in terms of a estimate. And
Right.
the estimate starting for that was 500, but it achieved over 3,000. And I maintained it's because in every chance we got, we were telling the story
Yes.
of the bear. And conversely, as you can see on the cover, is John Lennon with probably his most famous pair of glasses on.
Yes.
Now, the story with this was absolutely brilliant, and it's the press, the media all picked up on it, because Lennon, who was essentially a man of peace and heavily promoted that, lost these glasses when he had a fight in the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles in 1974.
And this is the thing, the story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would 99.99% of the people that look at that cover would go, "Oh, John Lennon's glasses."
Yeah. But they wouldn't know the story.
But they wouldn't know
behind
the
it.
story.
And
Exactly.
that's what we love to tell. And it's all right. People can't afford over £100,000 to buy a pair of John Lennon's glasses, but hopefully they'll remember the story.
Yeah.
And it's the story that connects with this. And as I say, it's the story that connected with the bear.
Yeah.
It gives them something to remember. And when you do come to auctions, I think that is so important, because people attach to that story, and then they feel a personal connection
to the artist.
to the artist.
And that brings us back to pretty much the start of the conversation when we were talking about the exhibition.
Yeah.
And that generational attachment
Yeah.
with the mums and the dads
That's
and the sons and the daughters that are coming to this.
That's it.
One question about the bear,
Yeah.
like the ship of Theseus, how much of it can be replaced and still be considered original or authentic? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
The head was pretty much original.
right.
In terms of he'd had an eye replaced, and his body had been recovered with a more modern fabric.
Right.
It didn't have the fur, but you could tell just from we get shown a lot of stuff, and you can look at it much like these glasses. You can look at it, and you can see John Lennon wearing these glasses. I don't need, even though we do it, it's what we call photo matching. I don't need to see a photo match to know what I've got in my hands are the glasses he's wearing.
Yes.
And it was the same when you saw photographs of Bowie holding this bear, even though the body material was different on the one we were selling.
Yes.
You knew from the shape and just weirdly the way the bear looked that it was the same bear.
It was the same bear.
We do it with jackets.
Well, I was going to say, so
Yeah.
if you have, let's say, you have a jacket,
Yeah.
and it's a jacket that's worn on a music video or a movie or something like that, how difficult is it to match that? Particularly, I'm assuming, the further back you go, when things are shot on video and stuff like that, the level of detail is probably very difficult to discern.
We've got, certainly with stuff from 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s even, the quality, the res on the film, either a photograph or a video or film, isn't as sharp as you would like, but there's so many ways now to enhance that. Certainly you see more and more of these 4K releases on videos, you see albums that have been remastered, so if I'm trying to match up a tape to an artist, then now it's a lot easier because it's crystal clear. You know, you can actually hear what they're saying. Same with some photographs, it is difficult because the source material is not good to start with. So we've got an in-house research team who are part of Copy, and they know what to look for. I've got a particular suit coming up for the April auction, which can't say too much about it at the moment, but it belonged to one of the Beatles.
Wow.
Now, the stripe in the cloth
Yeah.
and the way that the buttons are arranged on the cuff of the suit means that we can match it to a photograph of one of the Fab Four wearing it. Wow. So we know it isn't just for us corresponding on size etc. It's labels, and this has got the Doug Millins labels in as well.
Yeah.
It says which one it was made for, but because of the photograph we've got, and sometimes there aren't that many in terms of what they are.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We
sometimes.
can tell the stripe on the suit, certainly the lapel area matches. We tend to go for at least minimum of 2 areas that we can photo match. We like to go for more,
yes,
but sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes you just can't do it. And as I say, the alignment of the buttons on the cuff is another telltale factor with this suit, in as much as what it is. We've got other items, not just clothing, but guitars. You know, guitars, you can match the wood grain. You can match damage that's on it, because
I was going to say the wear patterns as well. I'm sure.
It's where it's, you know, where someone plays it, and whatever. As soon as you pick something up, it's got handling wear.
Yeah.
You might not be able to see that with the naked eye, but the more and more they pick it up, the more and more they use it, the more unique that becomes. And certainly, it's been easier for us with Oasis content.
Yes.
Because when they started in the 90s is when things did start to get a lot better in terms of filming, photography, etc. So we knew from Matt that Silver Sparkle was Noel's Silver Sparkle.
Yeah.
We knew where it come from as well.
And you've got the placement of that sticker on there, haven't you, as well? You know, that was an after something Noel just stuck on there.
Yeah.
But
well, that actually, the U on that actually came from a company run by one of our consultants. It's
really?
Such a Small World, a lady called Cordelia Plunkett. She actually she designed that logo, and it's one of the things she gave. It's small world, isn't it? And,
so it would appear.
And it's so when she saw it, it was when Cordelia actually saw the guitar being offered for sale, she'd contacted us to say, she provided that, and she'd actually got some memorabilia. Would we be interested in taking a look at?
Oh wow!
So, and it sort of comes full circle from that.
I was just going to say,
Cordelia is, you know, acting as a consultant for us in terms of introducing more people in certainly music and movie memorabilia, because, you know, she used to work in this. She used to be a video director.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. So, conversely, we've talked about when you can see the quality, you know, and the sharpness, and talked about 4K releases. There's another side to that, isn't there? Because obviously when you can see it on the 4K release, actually you can sometimes see too much detail. Yeah. And see the cheapness that you know, or the lack of quality.
Yeah.
So, you know,
it's certainly true with what you were saying earlier, whereby, you know, you remember seeing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars at the time, and it is one of those films that has held up incredibly well in terms of special effects.
Yes.
But 4K and digital have not done it some favours in certain scenes.
Yeah, I mean,
you could see the cardboard.
You can see the cardboard, but I think so. When I came here before, you had a stormtrooper, because there was apparently 6 full sets of New Hope armour.
Yeah.
And that was one of the 6 full sets of New Hope armour. I think one of the ways it was able to be identified was because they'd stuck gaffer tape, white tape on it, you know. And obviously, as you say, back in the day, you wouldn't have noticed at the cinema and you wouldn't have seen it on video. No. But now you can. And
also, because I mean, it's going to be 50 years next year, 2027.
Yeah.
The plastic resin that they use, which is beautiful and white on the film and whatever. Yeah. That starts to degrade. So when you start seeing some of the original items, certainly the Stormtrooper helmets, then they are faded. There is a yellowness to some of them.
Yes.
But that's expected with age. If somebody turned up with a brilliant minty white, somebody turned up with a minty white Stormtrooper helmet, it could be exactly the same as the ones that they used, but it just wouldn't be right. When you feel and touch these things, and that's something we can't do on the podcast, we can't convey that.
No.
But when you've got one of these in your hands and you know it's right, there's a real special connection with it. And that's why I like doing the exhibitions. That's why I like being able to take this stuff to show people, because for me, there's no better way to get your message out there and to showcase what you're selling than letting people have a look at it.
And that was, again, we rolled full circle. One of the reasons that I'm very pleased that we're able to do this, because I think I know obviously Adam Savage does his testing. He does the big pieces. He'll do the Jaws rod and reel and the thing, but there are thousands of pieces in here, thousands and thousands of pieces that you have, and thousands of pieces you have in the catalogue, and actually they all deserve that level of love. And equally, when I first came here and we did the walk around the stuff, I was like a kid in the sweet shop, wasn't I? I was absolutely fascinated. And I mean, I think the big thing that you had, for me, you had the Harryhausen maquettes.
Yeah, the little skeletons.
Yeah, absolutely. And like from Sinbad the Eye of the Tiger and Jason the Argonauts and all that kind of stuff. And to actually, I've seen those movies tens of times, probably hundreds of times, I don't want to admit that, but to see them and to see those things that were made, built and handled by Harryhausen and his team to make something that you watched as a kid. I mean, they used to show those films at the kids' popcorn thing. So
Saturday morning pictures.
Saturday morning, that was it, the Saturday morning matinee. And you'd go there and throw popcorn over each other and stuff like that, and watch the Minotaur, do the bits and pieces. But to see the maquette for it was amazing.
That's it. And you'll see a parent who's seen that, and it's magical.
Yeah.
You will pass that on to your children just through, I think, your sheer enthusiasm for it. And then a lot of children will pick up on that. They'll think, Mum liked this, Dad liked this.
Yeah.
Actually, I quite like it. And then it's true of music.
Yes.
You'll see the people, we'll go back to Oasis, because it was, we had the biggest Oasis auction ever in the world last year. Over £1 million in sales and some incredible pieces. A lot of the demographic of the buyers and also the people who came to the exhibition were under 30.
Yeah, and it was one of those things that really sort of surprised me. And again, we had, the dad and lad and the mum and daughter and stuff like that. But there were a lot of younger people that came through for that that weren't around.
And I think that was true in general when, the tickets went on sale. I think they were I think the tickets when they went on sale, I could be wrong on this, but I think the average age of the person attending was 26.
Was it really?
I think so. I think that's parents telling their kids, it's a shame you're never going to get the chance to see Liam and Noel, they were brilliant. Oasis, they were. And I wasn't a fan during the 90s.
Were you not?
No, they got on my nerves, to be honest. I wasn't a fan of Blur either. I just
That's
thought
I love that.
they were just,
Cocky. They were
cocky,
cocky
full
and
of themselves. And,
absolutely.
And genuinely, I wasn't on my own with that. A lot of people.
A lot of people were.
A lot of people in the south, in particular, thought, who are these two? What's this pair?
They were polarising.
But then you start to appreciate quality.
Yeah.
And you actually, do you know what? He might be arrogant, but he can write a song and he can play a guitar. And you look at Liam and you think, do you know what? He's probably the best front man in a long time. I think that's added to the aura and the mystique around him. It is, Liam was so good. Noel was writing the songs. The bust-ups they used to have, and certainly the split, only added to that.
Actually brings up two things. One of the things it brings up is, back in the day when they used to do radio interviews, they used to send out a record, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I bet you've come across some interesting ones of those.
We've had some Beatles ones.
Yeah. So what's the sort of value with those kind of things?
It depends on the content.
Right, okay.
And it also depends on copyright.
Right.
We can sell a tape.
Yeah.
We had some best example would be our 2023 auction is when we had some Jimi Hendrix tapes. Now, they were master tapes. Three unreleased songs.
Yeah.
They came from a lady called Trixie Sullivan, who Jimmy gave permission to her in a letter. We had the letter that at the time she could clear out his flat at Brook Street,
Right.
and any of the possessions were hers. So she sort of had these tapes in a box for years because she used to be a personal assistant to Hendrix, and she used to be personally.
Yeah, it's associated with the brand and the band.
With him.
Yeah.
And it's great having a tape, but unless you get permission to use what's on that tape, you can't use it for marketing or advertising. Now, I had people down because we digital copies were made so they could listen to what was on the tape.
Yes.
But to actually promote it, you can't do it. You can't sell it with copyright unless that person owns it. And that makes a huge difference to the value. If you were buying that tape, you could play it at home, invite your mates round, and say, listen to these unreleased Jimi Hendrix tapes, but they couldn't record it, they couldn't do anything, because then you're liable for prosecute you.
There's no dissemination of it.
You're breaking copyright laws.
Yeah.
It has got to be for personal pleasure and use. And that makes a huge difference into... Some of it is kudos. Some of it would be, do you know what? I'm the only person who's got the... legally can listen to these things. Had it the year before we had the Hendrix tapes, we had Elvis tapes. We had an Elvis tape from 72 when he performed at the Hilton International in Vegas.
Right.
I think it was December the 2nd or December the 3rd. Now, we originally, when I took the consignment in, we believed it was, this is from the consigner, that it was unique.
Right.
Because it was actually recorded by his manager, Tom Parker, on what you would call state-of-the-art equipment at the time for recording concerts if you were in the audience. Well, it was basically a reel-to-reel with a mic. set up for him to record, which is what he did. And he recorded it. And it's a complete Elvis show from, as I say, that night, when it performed 72. On that night.
Wow.
Now, we thought it was unique.
Yes.
But what we didn't know, somebody was obviously in the audience with, one of these little tape machines that you press all the buttons on. So there was actually, we found another recording on YouTube, an audio only.
So it was a bootleg out there?
Yeah, that you could listen, that you can hear the guy clicking on the buttons as, stopping and starting and stopping and starting. The quality wasn't as good as the one we had.
No.
But
it was the same.
Again, it's out there, and because it's on a social platform, it makes something like that makes a huge difference to the price. Because you can just go on YouTube, even though the quality's not there, you get the gist of what the whole concert, what Elvis was talking about, and it just makes it so difficult in terms of selling something like that with copyright. We find it with photographs as well.
Well, I was going to say, because you've got the same sort of thing with photographs, because one of the gentlemen that we are mutually aware of, I know, has Beatles photographs, and with the copyright on and things like that. But I know that costs an amount of money in addition to the image. Yeah.
Well, sometimes with the photographers, they'll do it. They retain copyright, so it is. Yeah. They are allowed. They could sell a photograph with copyright because they got the negatives, and because they took the photograph, they're legally entitled to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of photographers prefer to keep the copyright to themselves because once it's sold, somebody can do anything with it.
Yes.
Which is why there's different levels to what you can sell on copyright. There's merchandising copyright and there's full copyright. Well, merchandising copyright means you can take a picture of John Lennon,
slap it on a T-shirt.
Slap it on a T-shirt and sell it as merch.
Yeah.
Slap it on the front of a book, slap it on an auction catalogue.
Right.
And sell it as merch. Full copyright means you can do anything with it.
Yeah. So you couldn't call that a fine art print.
No.
Because it's merch for that.
Yeah.
But if you had it as a fine art print, it would probably
Yeah.
be the full copyright that you would need
You could do
for
that, and you would. It would be down to you to decide: do I run off 50 copies of this as an AP or something
Yeah.
where you sign it and do it? Do you do that and you earn your money out of it that way? There is a big premium for selling with copyright in terms of anything we sell.
I can imagine.
Because you can do really what you like with it.
You can do anything you want with it.
You can do anything you want with it.
It's interesting. You don't realise the layers and the complexity of these things that you potentially buy and the restrictions that are on them, or what you have to do to have.
One of the big things, certainly in the UK, and I think is very different to some of the stuff sold in the US,
Right.
is Great Britain's got really good GDPR and privacy laws.
Yes.
Now, you can't... Now, some of these we can sell because it's deemed public interest.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is an intrusion because there's phone numbers, there's addresses, there's personal details, there's personal information. So we've got a department here that deals with GDPR because you can. It's a mistake you can make by offering it and putting it out there. That we've sold. I had one of the things in this auction was a letter that Bono had written to Liam and Noel.
Oh, okay.
Saying that him and The Edge had absolutely blown away. It was the second time Oasis performed in Ireland.
Right.
When they went there the first time, they were sort of like a pub band.
I was going to say they would have probably been a pub band, wouldn't they?
But
Like
second time they went, they were really starting to hit big.
Yeah.
And obviously they met Bono and The Edge, and Bono wrote to them afterwards. But he put his phone number in it. He said, next time
give
you're
me
in
a shout.
Yeah, that's
Really?
exactly. Yeah,
next time you're in Ireland, give us a
Next
ring.
time you're in Ireland or I'm in London, you want to get together, give me a shout. This is my number. So it's great to have a handwritten letter.
Yes.
But we had to retract the phone. Did we? We obviously we wouldn't do that because then we would be in trouble.
Yeah.
Do we know if that phone number was still valid?
Well,
no.
That's the other question, isn't it?
We genuinely didn't because as soon as it come in,
but it's a number.
We redacted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's redacted, and it has to be done properly. If you're redacting on documentation, it is this super strong ink.
Yes.
That no matter what, hold it up to the light, X-ray it, do whatever you can to it. You just you can't read it. You can't read through it.
Because the thing is, if you do it with like Sharpie or something like that, it's dead easy to look through. No. I must admit, so some of the stuff that I've seen, tour itineraries.
Yeah. They've got all the numbers.
They've got all the numbers in. They've got all the contact details.
Even they've wised up on it. Early Oasis ones have all the contact details.
They do.
It has phone number, what they do, like studio engineer, sound engineer, road manager, contact number next to it, and or email, or both. Yeah,
or both. I was just going to say the contact details on it. Yeah.
Now, when you get a tour itinerary, they're not in there.
Right. Yeah,
because they do. It is basically where they're going to be on a specific date, hotel group are staying in, the roadies are staying in, that sort of thing. But there's no personal details. There's no personal contact details.
And that's a good thing, isn't it? Really. Yeah. I mean, as I say, you've got to be very careful with these things, haven't you?